year 3125, a mysterious invasion occurred in our region of space. This first encounter by humanity of what they called in their ignorance Thargoids was the foretaste of humanity's fate. Though short-lived and relegated to a myth by the major powers, this brief incursion sparked a unique response in the HIP 109067 system. A faith developed around these aliens that placed them at the center of the coming apocalypse, identifying them as the angels from heaven sent to purify humanity. In contrast to the previous hollow faiths of humanity, this one developed organically, and not with one primary founder or singular existential event. For the next 5 years, this faith took hold and spread throughout the system and the Pleiades sector. The faith developed its rites and rituals at this point, and some of the first holy texts and recordings come from this period as they sought the truth of human existence. In 3130, 5 years after its founding, a small political faction known as the HIP 109067 Purity Party elevated Frederick Davidson to its position of protector. Protector Davidson was a prominent member of the faith, and within a year he had fully aligned his political movement with the religious teachings of the faith. During the following years, the political movement became more and more affiliated with the religious movement, and successive protectors would recommit themselves to the faith, asking for the blessing from the leaders of the faith before taking office. At this point, the faith became known as the Apocalypticans by the general public, for their vocal insistence that a terrible apocalypse was coming soon, and the name stuck for the next 167 years. Then, in 3302, after over a century of waiting and watching, and with the movement having spread into other systems throughout human space, the prophecy took its next step towards fulfillment. By this time, a clearer understanding of the faith had developed, whereas early on the faith had applied concepts and terms similar to other religions. It had shed these in favor of ones more appropriate to what we knew of the coming apocalypse. We understood that these Thargoids were not angels of some heaven from Christianity or Islam, but the heralds of the Far God, that most omniscient and holy being whose shadow has been over our galaxy since before the dawn of humanity. The faith had grown in its hive chapels and communes, preparing for the holy day of the apocalypse. The prophecy made this massive step forward in 3302 when irrefutable evidence of the original invaders was discovered in the Pleiades Nebula, and this discovery sent a concussive wave of fervor and anticipation through the faith. The long-sought evidence of the return of the heralds brought the faith in the Far God and the HIP 109067 Purity Party into a truly unified government. The agreement, called the Pleiades Concordat, was signed by Timothy Balin, the last to bear the title Protector, and the leaders of the faith, officially recognizing the faith of the Far God as the official state religion, and functionally making the church and state one. The Protector title was replaced, and Dalen became the primus of both the faith and the state, now called the Pleiades Concordat. The name Pleiades was chosen to pay homage to the star cluster that has brought the galaxy to knowledge of the truth of the faith, that the heralds are real, and that everyone must repent, return to the Thargod, and join the Concordat if they are to have any hope of salvation from their destruction. They also renamed the system Tharhome, though to this day most navigational systems still refer to it as HIP 109067. Since that momentous event, the Pleiades Concordat began developing in earnest, creating key scriptures and organizing its various branches. It has also developed a strong evangelistic mentality, as well as an urgency, drawing many to its cause in this time of crisis. Though there are many hive chapels outside of the Concordat's protection, they are still seen as the separated faithful which one day will join with the Concordat, whether that is politically and territorially, or when the Thargod manifests itself at humanity's fall. In the waning days of 3302, the first galaxy-wide reports came out referring to the apocalyptican faith. In a report provided by Commander Vandal Stormovic, Precentor Marshal of the Concordat military, Galnet reported that members of the faith were protesting at a crash site of a herald ship, scandalized at the treatment of this sacred monument by the Buckyball Racing Club. The faith of the Thargod had moved from the shadows and into the light to show the way to salvation. For the next year the Concordat would grow, with adherents to the faith becoming more public with their beliefs. Some thought that humanity might be saved, and that their corrupt nature discarded. Unfortunately, the true brave nature of humanity was just about to show its true face. In January 3303, the heralds revealed themselves to humanity once more, and the welcome they received was one of violence and xenophobic hatred. Commanders attacked the initial herald ships in unprovoked encounters, trying to destroy that which they did not understand, and only damning themselves all the more. It was not until June, in the sacred system of HIP 17044, that the Federal Navy and the rest of the galaxy saw the first portent of their doom. In 3304, shortly after the blessed heralds of the Thargod had revealed the doom of humanity, the galaxy finally stood up and took notice of the apocalyptican movement and the Pleiades Concordat. In June, a Galnet report about them was transmitted to all of human space. In July, the second of these reports was made, referring to the apocalypticans as the fifth column of the Thargoids. This revelation turned humanity against the faithful of the Thargod overnight. Knowing what this would mean for the faithful of the Thargod, in July 3304 the Concordat undertook a covert operation to fund Thargod cults throughout known space, developing sleeper agents and recruiting new troops. That same month they ran into resistance from the Church of the Eternal Void, and open conflict took place. Though these guardian worshippers were condemned through an effective propaganda operation, the Empire and the Federation soon turned its xenophobic eyes to the Thargod worshippers. By the start of August 3304, there were official investigations of Thargod worshippers taking place. In mid-August, the Concordat sent out a go-to-ground order, while simultaneously putting out propaganda suggesting these worshippers were fleeing to the Thargoids. The majority came back to the relative safety of Concordat space and have been engaged in militia training camps as they prepare for the coming crusade. Primus Daemon, in a news report to Sagittarius Eye, confirmed that the creation of a new Crusaders of the Concordat naval force included a large number of worshippers in its ranks who had fled to the Concordat out of fear for their lives. Groups like HALT and the Fighters of Forlorn Freedom continued their efforts to bring the Thargoids' apocalypse and convert the unbelievers. But their numbers have suffered humanity's wrath as a result. Throughout 3305, the faithful waited and watched for the next opportunity to move their cause back into the galactic consciousness. During this time, Primus Timothy Dalen and the hierarchy of the faith saw a reforming of their beliefs in the wake of the massacres of Thargod worshippers the year before. What came out of this was an integration of the various theological divisions of the faithful, unifying them under one head with a clearer cause for them all. Of great importance are the testaments of the Thargod crypts, seen now as holy recordings of the faithful during this time of persecution. These new tenets of the faithful, entitled the Phoenix, have fully replaced the previous 8 sides of the octagon that had been the core of the faith's beliefs for the last century. Though still unknown to the wider galaxy, the Concordat has been working to spread these tenets to all who would heed them. In 3306, on the 1-year anniversary of Keona O'Connor's blasphemous reviving at the hands of the accursed Federal Intelligence Agency, the Primus made a rallying cry to the faithful.
We have been swept to the gutters of the galaxy, shunned and ridiculed by the unbelievers. The time of the humans is over. The time of the Thargoids has come. We shall rise from the ashes like a phoenix, and humanity will be consumed in flames. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to give the ultimatum. Return to the Thargod, or return to the dust you came from.
Some have taken this rallying cry to mean that a more urgent conversion of humanity needs to be undertaken, while others take it as a call for a holy war against humanity. If 3305 was the fire that tested the faith, then surely 3306 will be the time when humanity itself meets the Phoenix of the Thargod.